Junwoo Park stood outside the conference room, adjusting his translator badge for the third time. His hands were sweaty, and he tried to wipe them discreetly on his formal diplomatic uniform. This was his first real assignment since joining the Earth's diplomatic corps 6 months ago, and he desperately wanted to make a good impression. The year was 2347, and humanity had finally been granted provisional membership in the Galactic Council. After decades of observation, tests, and cultural assessments, Earth was now allowed to participate in the greater galactic community. The diplomatic station orbiting Earth had become a hub of activity, with alien species coming and going daily. Junwoo had studied hard to get this position, learning 3 alien languages and memorizing protocols until his head hurt. Today's meeting was supposed to be simple, a cultural exchange session with the Velthari delegation. According to his briefing files, the Velthari were a peaceful species known for their art and philosophy. They had been council members for over 2,000 years and had requested this meeting to learn more about human culture. The door slid open, and his supervisor, Director Hyunsu, nodded at him. "Ready?" Junwoo took a deep breath and walked in. The conference room was designed to accommodate various alien species. The lighting could be adjusted, the atmosphere controlled, and the furniture modified. Today, it was set up in what the files called neutral standard. Soft blue lighting, comfortable temperature, and simple chairs arranged in a circle. 5 beings were already seated. Junwoo recognized them from his studies. 3 were from species humanity had already established good relations with. The other 2 were Velthari. The Velthari were unlike anything Junwoo had seen before. Even after 6 months of working with aliens, they were roughly humanoid in shape, but that's where the similarity ended. Their skin seemed to glow from within, covered in intricate patterns that shifted and moved like liquid light. What looked like hair was actually thousands of thin, crystalline structures that caught the light, refracted it in rainbow colors. Their eyes were large and expressive, a deep violet color that seemed to hold entire galaxies. One of them was clearly older, his patterns moving slowly in deep blue and purple shades. The other was younger, and she seemed nervous. Her patterns flickered rapidly, shifting through various colors that Junwoo didn't understand yet. Director Hyunsu made the introductions. The older Velthari was Elder Tarkin, head of their Cultural Research Division. The younger one was Lyria, his assistant and student. When it was Junwoo's turn to be introduced, he stood and bowed slightly, the way his training had taught him. "It's an honor to meet you all," he said, speaking slowly to let the translators work. The meeting began smoothly enough. Director Hyunsu explained the purpose of the cultural exchange program. The alien delegates asked questions about human art, music, and social structures. Junwoo provided answers when asked, trying to sound professional and knowledgeable, but he kept noticing. Lyria, she seemed increasingly anxious as the meeting went on. Her glowing patterns flickered faster and faster, and she kept glancing at the door. Her hands, which had delicate webbing between the fingers, trembled slightly as she took notes on a holographic display. Junwoo knew that feeling. He had been terrified during his first few diplomatic meetings, too. The pressure to represent your entire species, to not make a mistake, to say the right thing at the right time. It was overwhelming. During a brief pause in the discussion, while Director Hyunsu was pulling up some human art examples on the main display, Junwoo leaned slightly toward Lyria. He had been practicing Velthari language for 3 weeks in preparation for this meeting. It was supposed to show respect and initiative. "You look gorgeous today," he said in her language, keeping his voice friendly and encouraging. He smiled, trying to put her at ease the way his colleagues had done for him when he first started. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Every conversation in the room stopped instantly. The quiet hum of the ventilation system suddenly seemed incredibly loud. One of the other alien delegates made a choking sound. Elder Tarkan's patterns froze completely, turning a stark white color. Lyria stared at Junwoo, her large violet eyes growing even wider. Her glowing patterns began cycling through colors so rapidly that it looked like a light show. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. I think they suddenly locked onto a bright pulsing gold that Junwoo had never seen before. The gold light was so intense that it cast shadows across the table. "What did you say?" Director Haeonsu asked in Korean, his voice tight with tension. "I just told her she looks nice," Junwoo replied, confused. "I was trying to be friendly." She seemed nervous. Director Haeonsu's face went pale. Actually pale, like all the blood had drained from it. He stood up quickly, his chair scraping against the floor. "I apologize," he said to the room, switching to Galactic Common. "We need to take a brief recess. Immediately, Elder." Tarkon stood as well, his pattern still that unnatural white color. He looked at Lyria, who hadn't moved or spoken. She sat frozen, her patterns pulsing that bright gold, her eyes still locked on Junwoo. "Come, child," Elder Tarkon said gently in their language. But Lyria didn't respond. She seemed unable to move, unable to look away from Jun-Woo. Finally, Elder Tarkon touched her shoulder, and the contact seemed to break whatever spell held her. Lyria suddenly stood up so quickly that her chair fell backward. Without a word, without looking at anyone else, she ran from the room. Her crystalline hair structures chimed softly as she moved, and the golden glow of her patterns left a faint trail in the air behind her. The other delegates began speaking rapidly in their own languages. Junwoo caught words through his translator that made his stomach sink. Unacceptable. Violation. Inappropriate. Scandalous. Director Haeonsu grabbed Junwoo's arm and pulled him toward a side door. "Conference room B now." They walked quickly through the corridors of the diplomatic station. Other staff members stared at them as they passed. News traveled fast in the small community of the station, and Junwoo could see people whispering to each other, looking at him with expressions ranging from shock to pity. In the smaller conference room, Director Haeonsu closed the door and turned to face Junwoo. He looked tired suddenly, like he had aged 10 years in the last 5 minutes. "Do you know what you just said to her?" he asked. "I told her she looked gorgeous," Junwoo said, his confusion mixing with growing dread. "I was speaking Valthari. Did I use the wrong word? Did I accidentally insult her?" "No," Director Haeonsu said, sitting down heavily. "You used exactly the right word. That's the problem." He pulled up a holographic display and began scrolling through files. "In human culture, we compliment each other's appearance casually. It's normal. It's friendly. We tell our friends they look nice. We tell strangers their shirt is cool. We're very free with these kinds of comments," as Junwoo said slowly. "That's why I said it. In Valthari culture," Director Haeonsu continued, "and in most galactic cultures, commenting on someone's physical appearance is one of the most intimate things you can do. It's not something you say to colleagues or acquaintances or even friends. It's something you say only to a bonded partner or someone you're declaring your intention to bond with." Junwoo felt his legs go weak. He sat down across from his supervisor. "What? You essentially just proposed to her," Director Haeonsu said. "Or actually, it's even more serious than that. In Valthari culture, they believe that words about physical beauty create a spiritual connection, a soul bond. It's not something that can be broken or taken back." "But I didn't know," Junwoo said, his voice barely a whisper. "I was just trying to be nice. To help her feel less nervous." "I know," Director Haeonsu said. He rubbed his face with both hands. "This is partly my fault. We should have included this in your cultural training. But there are so many species, so many rules, and this one seems so unlikely to come up in a formal setting. What happens now?" Junwoo asked Director Haeonsu, looked at him with sympathy. "Now we wait for the Valthari delegation to file their official response. They'll have to report this to the council. There will be an inquiry, possibly a hearing. Junwoo, this could affect Earth's membership status." "All because I gave someone a compliment?" "All because cultures are different," Director Haeonsu corrected gently. "And sometimes those differences have serious consequences." Junwoo sat in silence, thinking about Lyria's expression, the shock in her eyes, the way her patterns had turned that brilliant gold. He had thought he was helping her feel better. Instead, he had apparently changed her life forever, and possibly damaged humanity's place in the galaxy. In the process, Junwoo barely slept that night. He lay in his small quarters on the diplomatic station, staring at the ceiling and replaying the moment over and over in his mind. Lyria's shocked face, the gold patterns pulsing across her skin, the way everyone had stared at him like he had done something terrible. He had tried to be kind. That's all it was. A simple attempt to help someone who seemed nervous. How had it gone so wrong? His communication console beeped at 6 in the morning. A message from Director Hyun-soo. Report to the main office immediately. Jun-woo dressed quickly and hurried through the empty corridors. The station was quiet at this hour, with most of the staff still asleep. The silence felt heavy, oppressive. He kept expecting someone to jump out and yell at him, to tell him he had destroyed everything humanity had worked for. The main diplomatic office was already full when he arrived. Director Hyun-soo was there, along with Minji, the senior diplomat who had helped train Jun-woo. Several other high-ranking Earth officials were present, their expressions grim. Holographic displays floated in the air, showing documents and communications in various alien languages. Down, Director Hyun-soo said, his voice tired. Jun-woo sat, his hands clasped tightly in his lap. The Velthari delegation filed an official incident report at midnight. Director Hyun-soo began. It went directly to the Galactic Council's Ethics Committee. We've already received preliminary responses from 17 other member species. What did they say? Jun-woo asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know. Minji pulled up one of the documents. Most of them are concerned. Some are confused. A few are calling for disciplinary action. The general consensus is that this represents a serious cultural violation and questions whether humanity is ready for council membership. Jun-woo felt sick. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to cause all this. Minji said, her voice kind but firm. But intentions don't always matter in diplomacy. What matters is actions and consequences. Tell him about the girl, one of the other officials said. Director Hyun-soo nodded. Lyria hasn't come out of her quarters since the incident. She's refused to speak to anyone, including Elder Tarkhan. Her door is locked, and she's only accepting food deliveries through the automated system. Is she okay? Jun-woo asked, feeling a new wave of guilt. We don't know, Minji admitted. But according to the reports, her bioluminescent patterns have remained gold the entire time. In Velthari biology, that color indicates something called bonding recognition. It means her body and mind have accepted the existence of a soul bond. Jun-woo put his head in his hands. This is insane. I just said she looked nice. To you, that's what it was, Minji said, sitting down next to him. But words have different meanings in different cultures. In your language, when you say someone is gorgeous, you might mean anything from a casual compliment to genuine romantic interest. But in Velthari, that word has only one meaning: sacred recognition of another soul. She pulled up more information on the holographic display. Most galactic species have similar concepts. Physical appearance is considered deeply personal, almost spiritual. The Throken warrior clans believe that seeing someone's true, physical form is a privilege earned through combat or blood bonds. The Kratal species cover themselves completely except around immediate family. Even the Nexorians, who look like floating balls of energy, have protocols about commenting on each other's light patterns. Jun-woo asked, why is it such a big deal? Because most species separate their physical forms from their social selves, Director Hyun-soo explained. They interact through roles, titles, accomplishments. The physical body is private, but humans are different. We're very comfortable with our bodies. We shake hands, we hug, we compliment each other's clothes and hair. We're tactile and visual in ways that most of the galaxy finds shocking. Minji pulled up video footage. Look at this. This is from Earth's first public contact day, 5 years ago. The video showed crowds of humans greeting alien visitors. People waving, smiling, taking photos. Children running up to touch the aliens' unusual features. Adults shaking hands or attempting to hug species that didn't have hands or bodies suited for hugging. The other species were terrified, Minji said. They thought humans were being aggressive or inappropriate. It took months of explanation to make them understand that this is just how we show friendliness. So what happens now? Junwoo asked. The Galactic Council has called for a hearing in 3 days, Director Hyansu said. They want to determine if this was an isolated incident or evidence of broader human incompatibility with galactic norms. They could suspend our membership, another official added. Send us back to provisional status, or even ban us from council spaces until we complete additional cultural training. We're talking decades of setback. The weight of it crushed down on Junwoo. Decades. All because he wanted to help someone feel less nervous. I need to apologize to her, Junwoo said suddenly. To Lyria? I need to explain that I didn't understand, that I didn't mean it the way she thinks. That might not be a good idea, Minji said carefully. Why not? I caused this. I should be the one to fix it. Director Hyansu and Minji exchanged glances. We're not sure it can be fixed, Director Hyansu said. In Valtheri culture, once the words are spoken and the bond is recognized, it's permanent. There's no takebacks, no apologies that undo it. Then what am I supposed to do? Just let her sit in her room, thinking that I meant to create this bond. Let her believe something that isn't true. The diplomatic approach would be to let us handle it through official channels, Mingi said. We're drafting formal apologies, explanations of human cultural norms, requests for understanding. We can manage this at a policy level. But Junwoo was already shaking his head. She's not a policy. She's a person. I made her think something that isn't real. The least I can do is tell her the truth face to face. If you go see her, it could make things worse, Director Hyansu warned. In her culture, seeking someone out after speaking those words is a confirmation of intent. It strengthens the bond. If I don't go, she'll think I said those words and then abandoned her, Junwoo countered. Which is worse? The officials argued for another hour, but Junwoo had made up his mind. Finally, they gave him permission, but only under specific conditions. He would be accompanied by a cultural advisor. The conversation would be recorded, and if Lyria refused to see him, he would leave immediately. By the time they worked out all the details, it was afternoon. Junwoo walked through the station toward the guest quarters where the Valthari delegation was staying. His cultural advisor, a middle-aged woman named Sujin who specialized in Valthari studies, walked beside him, giving him last-minute instructions. Keep your distance, at least 2 meters. Don't make prolonged eye contact. Don't comment on her appearance or her patterns. Don't touch her or anything she's touching. Basically, say what you need to say and leave. They reached Lyria's door. Junwoo took a deep breath and pressed the communication panel. Lyria, this is Junwoo Park, the human from yesterday's meeting. I'd like to talk to you if that's okay. There was a long silence. Junwoo was about to try again when the door suddenly slid open. Lyria stood in the doorway. Junwoo's breath caught. She was wearing elaborate robes that he hadn't seen before. They were made of some shimmering material that looked like liquid starlight, with intricate patterns embroidered in gold thread. Her crystalline hair was arranged in a complex style with small jewels woven throughout. Her bioluminescent patterns were still pulsing gold, but slower now, more rhythmic. It's wearing bonding robes, Sujin whispered urgently. Junwoo, those are ceremonial. She thinks you're here to formalize the bond. Lyria looked at Junwoo with those large violet eyes. Her patterns pulsed brighter for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was soft, melodic, with an accent that the translator couldn't quite capture. You came, she said. I have been waiting. Behind him, Junwoo heard Sujin make a distressed sound. This was already going wrong. But Junwoo couldn't just leave now. Not when Lyria was looking at him like he was the answer to some question he didn't understand. May I come in? He asked. I need to explain something important. Lyria stepped aside, gesturing for him to enter. Her quarters were larger than his, with furniture designed for Valthari proportions. The lighting was dimmer, and there was a subtle scent in the air like flowers and ozone. I will wait here, Sujin said firmly. Door stays open. Junwoo nodded and stepped inside. Lyria closed the door to a narrow opening, giving them privacy, but not completely shutting out the advisor. They stood facing each other. And Junwoo tried to remember all of Sujin's instructions. Keep distance. Don't stare. Say what you need to say. But when he looked at Lyria, at the hope and confusion mixing in her expression, at the golden light pulsing across her skin, all his prepared words disappeared. I don't know what I've done, he admitted, but I think I need you to help me understand. Lyria tilted her head, studying Junwoo with an expression he couldn't quite read. Her golden patterns flickered in a way that seemed like curiosity. She gestured to a low seating area, the kind designed for Valthari bodies, but adaptable enough for humans. Please, sit, she said. We should talk. Junwoo sat carefully, maintaining the distance Sujin had insisted on. Lyria settled across from him, arranging her ceremonial robes gracefully. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Junwoo could hear his own heartbeat in his ears. I must apologize first, Lyria finally said. Running from the meeting was inappropriate. Elder Tarkhan was very disappointed in my behavior, but I was overwhelmed. I did not expect such words, especially not in my first meeting with humans. I'm the one who should apologize, Junwoo said quickly. I didn't understand what those words meant in your culture. I thought I was just being friendly, making you feel less nervous. In human culture, we tell people they look nice all the time. It doesn't mean anything serious. Lyria's patterns flickered through several colors quickly. Blue, then purple, then back to gold. It means nothing. She asked softly. No, I mean it means something. It means I noticed you seemed uncomfortable and I wanted to help. But it doesn't mean what you think it means. I didn't know I was creating a bond or whatever this is. Lyria was quiet for a moment, her patterns shifting to a deeper shade of blue. In my studies of Earth, she said slowly, I learned that humans use words differently than most species. You have many words for the same feeling. Many ways to express the same concept? Is this true? Yes, Junwoo said, grateful for the change in direction. We have lots of words for things. Sometimes the differences are small, but they matter to us. Then perhaps you can explain this to me, Lyria said, leaning forward slightly. When you said I was gorgeous, did you feel anything when you said it? Or were they just empty sounds? Junwoo thought carefully before answering. I felt like I wanted to help you. You seemed anxious, and I remembered feeling that way in my first meetings. So yes, there was feeling behind the words. But not the kind of feeling you're thinking of. What kind of feeling am I thinking of? Lyria asked. The kind that creates soul bonds and requires ceremonial robes, Junwoo said. Gesturing at what she was wearing, Lyria looked down at her robes. And for the first time, her patterns flashed with what might have been embarrassment. A pinkish shade mixed with the gold. I see, then I have made an error as well. When Elder Tarkin told me what your words meant, I began the traditional meditation. For 2 days, I have been preparing myself to accept the bond. I thought you would come to complete the ceremony. Yes. There's a ceremony? Junwoo asked weakly. Of course. Words are just the beginning. Then comes the formal acceptance, the joining of patterns, the soul recognition ritual. It takes several hours and must be witnessed by elders from both families. She paused. You truly did not know any of this? I barely know how to say hello in your language without accidentally starting a war, Junwoo admitted. I've only been studying Velthari for 3 weeks. Lyria's patterns shifted again, this time to a soft purple. 3 weeks. But you spoke so clearly. Your pronunciation was nearly perfect. I practiced a lot, Junwoo said. I wanted to make a good impression. I thought learning your language would show respect. It does show respect, Lyria said. Very few humans have learned Velthari. Most use only the common tongue. Her patterns flickered thoughtfully. Perhaps this is why I believed you spoke with true intent. Someone who would learn our language must understand our culture. Yes, that would make sense, but apparently I'm the exception. I learned the words without understanding what they really meant. They sat in silence again, but it felt less awkward now, more thoughtful. Lyria seemed to be processing everything, her patterns moving through subtle variations of blue and purple. Tell me about human bonding, she said finally. How do your people create connections if not through sacred words? Junwoo tried to think of how to explain it. We bond through time and shared experiences. We spend time together, we talk about our lives, we help each other, we have fun together. Over time, those experiences build trust and affection. Words are part of it, but they're not the beginning. They're more like a confirmation of what already exists. So you build the bond first, then speak it. Lyria asked, her patterns brightening with interest. Sort of. Sometimes we speak it along the way. We tell our friends we care about them. We tell family members we love them. We compliment people we barely know. The words are everywhere, woven through everything. Lyria stood up and walked to a window, looking out at the stars beyond. This is very strange to me. In Velthari culture, words have power. They create reality. To speak something is to make it true. If I say the sky is green, I am speaking falsehood, and falsehood weakens the soul. But if I speak a truth, especially a truth of connection, it becomes unbreakable. She turned back to look at Junwoo, her pattern settling into a steady purple. Among my people, we spend years in friendship before anyone would dare speak words of appearance. To see someone truly, to recognize their physical form as beautiful, means you have looked past all the layers they show the world and seen their genuine self. It is the deepest intimacy. That's actually beautiful, Junwoo said. But it's not how humans work. We're very physical beings. We notice how people look immediately. It's just part of how we experience the world, and we talk about it freely because it's not intimate to us. It's just observation. You observe each other constantly? Lyria asked, returning to her seat. All the time. We notice clothes, hair, how someone smiles, how they move, and we comment on it. We tell strangers their jacket is nice. We tell coworkers they got a good haircut. We tell friends they look tired and ask if they're okay. It's how we show we're paying attention, that we care. Lyria's patterns flickered rapidly, processing this information. So when you told me I was gorgeous, you were simply observing me. Like one might observe the weather? No, not that casual, Junwoo corrected. I noticed you seemed nervous, which meant I was paying attention to you specifically. And I thought that maybe if I said something kind, it would help you feel more comfortable. It was an attempt at connection, just not the kind of connection you understood it to be. An attempt at connection, Lyria repeated slowly. Through observation and kindness, this is the human way? One of them, yes. Lyria was quiet for a long time, her patterns moving through several colors. Finally, she spoke again. I have been studying humanity for 3 years. My specialty is human cultural behavior. Do you know why? Junwoo shook his head, because humans confuse everyone. You confuse the entire council. You create strong friendships in days that take other species decades to build. You express emotions openly that most species hide even from family. You touch each other, you smile at strangers, you share food without formal exchange protocols. You are chaos to the galactic order. She leaned forward, her patterns brightening. But you are also successful chaos. Your species went from planetary isolation to council candidacy faster than any species in recorded history. Your soldiers fight with a fierceness born from protecting each other rather than following orders. Your scientists collaborate across cultural lines that would paralyze other species. You are strange, but you are effective. I'm not sure if that's a compliment or an insult, Junwoo said. Managing a small smile? It is observation, Lyria said. And her patterns flashed with what might have been amusement. As a human would do? Despite everything, Junwoo laughed. The sounds seemed to surprise both of them. But it broke something in the tension between them, made the space feel less like a diplomatic incident and more like an actual conversation. I have a question, Lyria said. When you saw me yesterday, before you spoke, what did you actually think? Not what you intended to convey, but what you felt. Junwoo considered this carefully. I thought you looked nervous. I noticed your patterns were moving fast, and I remembered from my studies that meant anxiety. I thought your crystalline hair was beautiful in how it caught the light. And I felt sympathy because I understood being nervous in that situation. So, you did find me beautiful? Lyria asked. Yes, but not in the way your culture means. I found you interesting and unique. I appreciated the artistry of your appearance, but I didn't feel a soul connection, or whatever you call it. Could you? Lyria asked quietly. Could you feel that, given time? The question hung in the air between them. Junwoo didn't know how to answer it. Outside the door, he could hear Sujin shifting nervously, probably wondering if she should intervene. I don't know, Junwoo admitted. I don't know how soul bonds work. I don't know if humans can even feel them the way you do. But I know that right now, in this moment, I feel like we're starting to understand each other. And isn't that something? Lyria's patterns shifted to a soft pink mixed with blue. Yes, she said. That is something. A chime sounded, making both of them jump. Lyria touched a communication device on her wrist. She listened for a moment, then sighed. Elder Tarkhan requests my presence. The council has scheduled the hearing for tomorrow morning. They moved it up. Tomorrow. Junwoo stood quickly. But Director Hyeonsu said we had 3 days. Apparently several species have filed additional complaints about human behavior. The council wants to address all of them at once. She looked at him, her patterns dimming slightly. Junwoo, this hearing will decide whether humans remain in the council. The weight of that decision will rest partly on explaining what happened between us. What do we tell them? Junwoo asked. Lyria stood, her ceremonial robes flowing around her. I do not know yet. But perhaps we should tell them the truth. That you spoke without understanding, and I heard without questioning. That both of our cultures have wisdom, and both have blindness. She walked him to the door, where Sujin was waiting with barely concealed anxiety. Before Junwoo left, Lyria touched her hand to her chest and then extended it toward him, keeping distance between them. It was a Velthari gesture of respect. Thank you for coming, she said, for trying to understand. That took courage. Or stupidity, Junwoo said. I'm still not sure which. Lyria's patterns flashed bright pink. Perhaps with humans, they are the same thing. The Galactic Council chamber was enormous. Junwoo stood at its center, feeling smaller than he ever had in his life. The room was designed to accommodate hundreds of different species, with sections adjusted for various atmospheric and gravitational needs. Representatives from across the galaxy filled the circular tiers that rose up and around him like an amphitheater. He could identify some of them from his studies. The Throken warriors, massive beings covered in natural armor plates, sat in their high-gravity section. The Krital, wrapped in their traditional coverings that showed only their eyes, occupied an area with filtered lighting. The Nexorians floated in their containment fields, balls of colored energy that pulsed and shifted with their thoughts. And dozens more species he barely knew, all watching him with varying degrees of curiosity, concern, or hostility. The human delegation sat in the newcomers section, a relatively small area near the entrance. Director Hyeonsu Minji and several Earth ambassadors were there, dressed in their formal diplomatic uniforms. They had tried to prepare Junwoo for this, running him through practice questions and protocols. But nothing could really prepare someone for standing before representatives of hundreds of civilizations while they judged Deo's entire species. The Velthari delegation sat in their designated area, a section with softer lighting and comfortable seating. Elder Tarkin was there, his patterns in neutral blue. And Lyria sat beside him, no longer wearing the ceremonial robes, but dressed in simpler clothing. Her patterns were calm, a gentle purple that occasionally flickered to pink. At the highest point of the chamber sat the council elders, representatives from the founding species who managed the day-to-day operations of the galactic government. Among them was Matriarch Velsera of the Velthari, an ancient being whose patterns moved so slowly they seemed almost frozen. She would be leading this hearing. A deep tone echoed through the chamber, calling everyone to attention. Matriarch Velsera's voice, when she spoke, was translated into hundreds of languages simultaneously. Junwoo heard her words in Korean through his earpiece. We are gathered to address a matter of significant cultural concern. The human Junwoo Park has committed an act that violates the sacred traditions of the Veltari people. This incident has raised questions about humanity's understanding of galactic protocols and their readiness for full council membership. And the chamber filled with murmurs and clicks and other sounds of agreement from various species. Additionally, Valsera continued, we have received complaints from multiple member species regarding other instances of inappropriate human behavior. Before we address the primary incident, we will hear these concerns. A holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber, visible from all angles. It showed a series of reports filed by different species over the past 6 months. A Throken representative stood, his armor plates grinding against each other as he moved. When he spoke, his voice was like rocks grinding together. 3 weeks ago, a human diplomatic aide smiled at me repeatedly during a negotiation. In our culture, showing teeth is a sign of aggression, a prelude to combat. I was forced to leave the meeting, fearing for my safety. Murmurs of sympathy rippled through the chamber. A Kratal representative spoke next, their voice soft and distant. Humans ask about personal well-being without proper ritual introduction. They inquire about health, family, and emotional state from strangers. This violates our privacy customs. It is intrusive and uncomfortable. More species added their complaints. Humans shared food without establishing hierarchical exchange. They touched alien artifacts without permission rituals. They made jokes about serious matters. They used informal language with superiors. The list went on and on. Junwoo felt his stomach sink. This wasn't just about what he had said to Lyria. This was about all of humanity's casual, friendly, informal way of existing in the universe. And the galaxy saw it as chaos. Finally, Matriarch Valsera raised a hand, and silence fell again. We will now address the primary incident. Junwoo Park, you stand accused of speaking sacred words to Lyria without proper understanding or authorization. How do you answer? Junwoo stepped forward slightly, trying to keep his voice steady. I admit that I spoke the words. I told Lyria she was gorgeous, but I didn't know what those words meant in Valtheri culture. I was trying to be kind, to help her feel less nervous. In human culture, this is normal and friendly. Ignorance is not an acceptable defense, Valsera said, her patterns barely moving. You were assigned as a translator specifically for this meeting. You studied our language. With that knowledge comes the responsibility to understand our culture. But there are hundreds of species in the council, Junwoo protested. Thousands of cultural rules. How can we possibly learn them all? Humans have been members for less than a year. Other species manage, a reptilian delegate hissed from their section. They learn protocols before engaging in diplomatic functions. Other species are cautious, Junwoo shot back, surprising himself with his boldness. But humans aren't built that way. We reach out. We connect. We try to make friends. Yes, sometimes we make mistakes, but we do it because we genuinely want to understand and include others. Your intentions are irrelevant, Valsera said coldly. You have caused harm through carelessness. You have created a spiritual bond that cannot be broken, affecting Lyria's life permanently. And you have shown that humans cannot be trusted to respect the sacred traditions of other species. Director Hyansu stood in the human section. Matriarch, if I may address the council? Valsera nodded permission. Humanity acknowledges that we have much to learn, Director Hyansu said, his voice carrying through the chamber. We are young on the galactic stage. We make mistakes. But we also bring something valuable. In the short time we've been council members, we've helped mediate 3 territorial disputes, contributed new technologies to the common database, and established cultural exchange programs with 17 species, and caused diplomatic incidents with 12, the reptilian delegate countered. Growth is messy, Director Hyansu continued, but it's also necessary. Humanity asks the Council for patience and understanding while we learn to navigate this complex society. Patience has limits, Valsera said, and some mistakes cannot be undone. The chamber erupted in debate. Various species argued back and forth about human behavior, about cultural standards, about the balance between integration and preservation of traditions. Junwoo stood in the center of it all, feeling like he was watching his entire species be judged for his mistake. Then Lyria stood. Her movement was graceful, and her pattern suddenly blazed with light, cycling through multiple colors in rapid succession. It was such an unusual display that the entire chamber fell silent, every eye turning toward her. "I wish to speak," she said, her voice clear and strong. Matriarch Velsara tilted her head. "You are the injured party in this matter, young Lyria? Of course you may speak." Lyria walked down from her section to stand near Junwoo, though she maintained appropriate distance. Her patterns continued their unusual display, commanding attention. "Honored elders and representatives," she began, "I am the one who received the sacred words. I am the one whose life has supposedly been altered forever. But I ask you all to consider something. Has my life been harmed, or has it been opened?" She turned slowly, addressing the entire chamber. "For 3 years I have studied humanity. I chose this specialization because humans confuse us. They break our rules without understanding why the rules exist. But in these past days, I have learned something important. Perhaps we do not understand them either." She gestured toward Junwoo. "This human spoke words to me that, in our culture, create a sacred bond. But in his culture, these words are gifts given freely. They are expressions of kindness, encouragement, connection. Not because the words mean nothing, but because humans believe that connection itself is sacred, regardless of how it is expressed." Her pattern shifted to a deep blue, the color of contemplation. "We Velthari spend years before speaking words of appearance. We believe this makes the words more meaningful. But humans speak such words constantly. Does this make their words less meaningful, or does it mean they find meaning everywhere?" Murmurs spread through the chamber again, but they sounded different now. More thoughtful. "I have been taught that creating bonds carelessly is dangerous," Lyria continued. "But I have watched humans create strong friendships in days that take us decades. I have seen human crews who would die for each other after months of service together. I have observed human families who express love daily, not just at prescribed ritual times. Their bonds are not weaker for being formed quickly. If anything, they may be stronger because they are reinforced constantly." She looked directly at Matriarch Velsara. "Honored Matriarch, you say that Junwoo has created a bond that cannot be broken. But by our understanding, he has created no bond at all. He spoke words without the intention behind them. So, which is true? Is the bond in the words, or in the meaning? And if it is in the meaning, then perhaps we should ask what meaning was truly present." Velsara's patterns flickered for the first time, a brief ripple of surprise. Jun-Woo found his voice. "May I add something?" Velsara nodded. "In the past few days, Lyria and I have talked. We've tried to understand each other. And yes, I think we've formed a bond. Not because I said she was gorgeous, but because we both chose to listen to each other instead of just reacting. We chose to see past our cultural differences and find common ground." He looked around at all the assembled species. "Isn't that what the council is supposed to be about? Different cultures finding ways to work together? Humanity's different from most of you. We're emotional, informal, and we connect quickly. But that doesn't make us incompatible with the council. It just means we need to learn from each other." "Teal words," the reptilian delegate said. "But how do we trust that humans will learn? How do we know you won't continue causing incidents?" "You don't," Junwoo admitted. "Just like we don't know if we'll always understand you. But we can try. And we can forgive each other when we fail. Isn't that what any good relationship requires?" The chamber fell silent. Matriarch Velsara sat motionless for a long moment, her patterns barely shifting. Finally she spoke. "The council will deliberate. All parties will withdraw while we reach our decision." Junwoo and the human delegation filed out of the chamber, along with the other observers. They waited in an antechamber, the silence heavy with tension. Director Hyansu paced. Mingi sat with her head in her hands. Junwoo just stared at the floor, replaying everything in his mind. Lyria approached him quietly. "That was brave," she said. "Speaking so honestly to the council, or stupid," Junwoo said, echoing their earlier conversation. "I'm still not sure which." Her patterns flashed pink. Perhaps both. Perhaps that is the human way. They waited for 3 hours. Finally, they were called back into the chamber. Matriarch Valsera stood at her position, her patterns still barely moving. The council has reached its decision. After much deliberation, we have determined that humanity's membership status will not be suspended. Relief washed through the human delegation. But Valsera wasn't finished. However, all human diplomatic personnel will be required to complete extensive cultural training. This training will be mandatory and comprehensive. Additionally, humans will be assigned cultural advisors for all formal diplomatic functions. She paused, her ancient eyes seeming to focus on Junwoo. Regarding the specific incident between Junwoo Park and Lyria, we acknowledge that this was a matter of cultural misunderstanding rather than malicious intent. No formal bond is recognized by the Council. However, we do recommend that both parties continue their cultural exchange work. Her patterns shifted slightly, the first real movement Junwoo had seen. In fact, we are creating a new position, cross-cultural understanding coordinators. Junwoo Park and Lyria will co-lead this initiative. Serving as representatives of different approaches to connection and communication, Yoon Woo blinked in surprise. He looked at Lyria, who seemed equally shocked. Her patterns were cycling rapidly through multiple colors. This position will be responsible for helping species understand each other's cultural norms, Valsera continued. It will serve as a bridge between the formal protocols we have always followed and the more flexible approach that humanity brings. If humanity wishes to remain in the Council, perhaps we all must learn to adapt. The chamber filled with mixed reactions. Some species seemed pleased. Others looked skeptical, but none voted to overturn the decision. As they left the chamber, Director Hyeonsu clapped Junwoo on the shoulder. Well, you managed to turn a diplomatic incident into a promotion. That's very human of you. Lyria walked beside them, her patterns a warm mixture of pink and blue. I suppose we have much work ahead of us, she said to Junwoo. I suppose we do, he agreed. Then he smiled. But at least now, when I tell you that you look nice, it'll just be part of the job. Her patterns flashed bright pink, and for the first time she made a sound that might have been laughter. Humans, she said, shaking her head. Always making jokes of serious matters. It's one of our best qualities, Junwoo said. And despite everything, despite the hearing and the stress and the near disaster, both of them smiled. It wasn't the beginning they had expected, but perhaps it was the beginning they needed.